So hello everyone. I am Chef Laura Bonicelli of the Bonicelli Cooking Club. I am also the Minneapolis Farmers Market market chef. So tonight is the night and welcome to the Outdoor Cooking Masterclass. We've been working on this event, oh gosh, for a couple of months, actually longer. And some of these recipes I've been writing have been in the works for a really long time. We have some great information to share. So if you didn't sign up for the event, I'm going to say this one last time, you should have gotten the packet with the recipes and downloads. If you didn't sign up, please go to the comments section and you can still sign up. We posted the link. Or go to BonicelliCookingClub.com and there's a link to the sign up page on my homepage and we'll send you the packet tomorrow. I'm going to be referencing all of the recipes and all of those downloads in that packet that you got throughout the presentation. And we're going to be working with grilling food recipes all summer long in the Cooking Club. So we thought that this masterclass would be an absolutely great way to set a tone for the rest of the season, both in the Cooking Club and for the Farmers Market. And thank you, Minneapolis Farmers Market and all of the market producers that contributed to this. We have a lot of video and a lot of great stuff to show you. We love you. And Cooking Club members, you're the best. And I know a lot of you are watching. We're going to have a great summer, everyone. So now, here is what we are covering tonight. So number one, I'm going to number them. I don't think they are on the screen, but I am for my purposes. Number one, your grilling setup. We're going to talk all about what you need to grill and discuss some of the possibilities. Number two, we're talking about brines, marinades, rubs, sauces, and wood. How, where, and why to use them and why. And I'll be referring to recipes in the pack. Number three, how to grill the perfect steak. That is one of the guides, and it's an important one, and we will show you that, and we'll talk it through. Number three, I think I'm on the right one, right? Or am I on four? Uh-oh. I'll stop with the numbers. Oh, a temperature guide for vegetables and recipes. And then we are talking about another guide with lamb, pork, trout, chicken, all kinds of temperature guides. And then here's the grilling guide. And then we have a grilling guide on how to grill vegetables perfectly. My vegetable grilling guide is kind of amazing. And I give you an after marinade recipe. Then we're going to talk about 5 things you should probably, or you probably didn't grill but should. And there are a few surprises in there. And then we'll take questions and we'll give away all those prizes. Okay, agenda item number 1, your grilling setup. Great grilling, like all cooking, depends on 3 elements: great food, the right equipment, and technique. We're highlighting several vendors tonight from the Minneapolis Farmers Market, as I said, and they've got you covered for the great food. And I can't stress enough that vetting your food resources is so important. I always say when complimented on my cooking that it's really simple because I just buy the best. What I do with it is secondary. Not that I don't write good recipes, but there's no way to mask inferior quality in food, and high quality food stands on its own. Now that I've gotten that out of my system, let's talk about the equipment. I've assembled some things here. That's why my counter is full of stuff, and this is what I typically use. And this is when I employ mise en place, which is a French term that means everything in its place. So we have a whole course on that in the Cooking Club. I take trays of my equipment outside with me, so I'm not running back and forth to the kitchen. So I have tongs and forks and brushes for sauces and marinades. I have my grill basket over here. I take a flat grate. I have a good instant read thermometer, which is right here. I have mitts and damp and dry microfiber towels and paper towels off the roll, so I don't have the roll rolling across my lawn. I get all of this ready ahead. By the way, I set something on top of this so it doesn't blow across the lawn too, but I also have kosher salt, and I have freshly ground black pepper and canola oil for grates in the pans. So anything specific to a recipe like a sauce or a spice blend or I put on a separate tray. I also take one of these with me if I need it. This is a burner. It's inexpensive. It's a butane burner. I use these a lot in the cooking club, and club members know I love them. They heat very quickly, and if you're doing something like corn on the cob, it's perfect for that, and you can do it outside. And this guy is usually in my garage. It's a chimney to start charcoal in. Works really well, and then you don't have to use lighter fluid, which affects the taste of the food. Right now we have propane tanks attached to our grill, so I don't use that, but I keep it on hand because sometimes I run out of propane. So one last thing, when I take my proteins out to the grill, I always have an extra clean plate underneath, like this. So I put them on a clean plate when they're cooked because I don't want to put cooked meat on a plate with raw juices. And again, I don't want to run inside to get one. So let's talk about the grills. There are two main camps in grills, and that is gas and charcoal. Charcoal grills are generally less expensive, but not always. You can part with as much money as you want to in buying either one of them. Usually people are in one camp or the other. They're charcoal or they're gas grills, and they are really quite sure that the other camp is just wrong. I'm a charcoal person, but I do spend a lot of time looking at gas grills, so I may end up with one. So here's the breakdown between the two. Gas grills are convenient and they are clean. Well, they're cleaner. You can buy them with separate heating elements within each grill, so you can control the heat in separate areas very easily. The temperature is set like an oven, and it stays where you put it. Charcoal grills are tougher. They produce a rich, smoky taste, though, but they do require some skill in dealing with the fire building, and they are messier. They also take more time because you have to wait for the fire to get up and ready, and it may need to be fed to maintain temperature, which means adding charcoal. Now for me, because the fire temperature is a moving target, and it always is, I sometimes do pre-cooking either in my oven or with a sous-vide circulator or even in my microwave. Then I'm basically finishing food off, imparting that grilled flavor. And that's helpful too, to do it that way, because I have one grill and it's only this big. So it allows me to spend time making my meal timed better. On both charcoal and gas, you can use smoke via wood chips or chunks. So the gas grill can get a smoky flavor with chips, and it is fire, of course, so it will char and brown food. There are a lot of different options when it comes to wood chips and chunks, and many places have very strong regional preferences. But generally speaking, there are 5 varieties of wood that are widely available, and that is hickory, mesquite, apple, cherry, and pecan. So when I use them, I always soak them first, which is traditional, and I usually just place them directly on the coals. If you are using a gas grill, you can wrap them in foil, put coals in it, or buy a wood chip container. They make those, and it's designed for wood and grilling. Because the wood is soaked in water, it doesn't flare up much. It does a little bit, but sometimes. But it smokes, which is exactly what you want. So I did want to touch briefly on the 2 types of grilling, because there are 2, which is direct and indirect. Controlling the temperature, especially with charcoal, is absolutely the biggest challenge in outdoor grilling. So using a direct or indirect technique, or a combination of the 2, gives you the flexibility to cook almost anything on the grill. So this applies to both types of grills. So direct heat means that foods are placed directly over a lively flame or a hotbed of coals. And that's where the heat is the hottest and the food cooks really quickly. This is perfect for searing and quick cooking things like a thin piece of meat or fish, or quick cooking vegetables like asparagus. Indirect grilling means that foods are placed on the grill close to but not on top of the heat source. The heat source is less intense, so foods take longer to cook. Foods such as ribs or longer cooking vegetables do not do well with indirect heat. So I find that using a combination, though, of direct and indirect, and you'll see that going forward here in what we're showing you, that's what I do a lot of. And Weber has a set of baskets that contain our coals. So I'm using direct grilling when I'm over the baskets, and indirect in the center of the grill when I'm not over the baskets. If I'm doing something like roasting a whole chicken, I think we have a picture of that, I'll put the whole chicken in the center of the grill with a pan underneath, and that's to catch the drips from the juices and fat that cooks off of the chicken. So as we go through the rest of the presentation, you'll see both direct and indirect grilling. All right, we're going to move on now. So agenda number 2, brines, marinades, rubs, sauces, and wood. How, when, and where, and why to use them. Now, flavoring food in grilling has lots of options, but let's start with brining and marinating because there's often confusion about this. What is the difference between the two, and when and where and why do you do them? So some people say that brining is for moisture and marinating is for flavor, which is true, but both actually do impact flavor and moisture. So to me, a brine has a base of water and a lot of salt, usually, or sugar sometimes. And from there, you can start adding peppercorns or dried cloves, that type of thing. A marinade is usually more complex and is similar to a sauce, and sometimes it is a sauce. And that's where I involve fresh herbs, olive oil, mustard, yogurt, for example. But both brines and marinades break down the meat, fish, or poultry that you're using them on. So you need to control the time so you don't destroy your protein. I didn't include it in the packet, but in the cooking club, we'll have a brining and marinade guide, so you can be mindful of how long is appropriate. And if you think of it, fish is going to be less, and tougher meats are going to be more, of course. So we're going to be talking about a vegetable marinade guide. It's my after marinade guide in a few minutes. And that recipe, that guide is in the packet. We're using a marinade afterwards, after we grill, because marinades don't really soak into raw vegetables, but they do soak into cooked ones. Dry rubs or spice blends, and I love these, and I have a million recipes for them. I gave you 2. I gave you a North Carolina rub that I put together for my niece's wedding. Very proud of that. And a Portuguese spice blend. So I always make my own rubs and blends. It keeps my spice drawer active, which is important because it helps me use up all my spices before they lose their potency. And rubs and blends are great. You can rub them onto your meat or fish a few hours before you grill or sprinkle them on right before. And they're handy to just toss on vegetables if you need something to perk them up. So sauces, and I gave you 2 barbecue sauce recipes. And we'll talk about those in a bit. The great thing about barbecue sauces is that they can be added at the end of grilling, and they impart a wonderful finishing flavor, and you can serve more of the sauce on the side. So let's move on to item number 3. I think I'm right on that. I gotta check my numbers. That is how to grill the perfect steak. Okay, so let me grab that. I'm gonna read through this as I go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take just a quick second here and get rid of all of my grilling stuff, okay? So I have a little counter space. And while I'm doing that, if you haven't signed up for Grill Fest, put your name in the chat and put Grill Fest after it, and we'll know that you want that. That's on the 27th. It's a Sunday of June. Or put market prize after your name, and then we'll know that you can pick up a market prize this weekend. So just a reminder. Okay, I am feeling better about that. And let me get this back here. Okay, my steak grilling guide. Okay, so the reason I put this together is because I often get a lot of questions about beef, how to grill the perfect steak, and comments like, I grilled this perfect steak once and I've never been able to do it again. Or, I've never been able to grill a perfect steak and I don't understand why. So that's why I put this together, because I think these are some parameters that will help you tip the scale in your favor. And really, in many ways, that's what cooking is about. Cooking is about tipping the scale in your favor. Cooking is about making sure that you do all the little things that you can to make things work. So let's just look at this. First of all, I want you to know what you're buying. And that kind of is under Know Your Beef and Consider This. So knowing your beef means you need to know what kinds of beef are out there. And what used to be the only thing that you could get was grain-fed beef, which is kind of what you would get in a steakhouse, and that was everywhere. And then along came grass-fed beef, And that changed things quite a bit because it tastes different. It's much leaner. It's harder to cook because it doesn't have the fat, and it has a gamier taste to it. So some people would just not like that. So that's fine. What producers started doing, and you're going to hear a lot about what producers can do to manipulate the outcome of the meat that you buy, and it's very sophisticated. So I'm not going to talk much about it because they're going to talk about it. But and it's not beef, it's pork, but it's the same thing with beef and everything, chicken, everything. So what they do now is they'll grass feed beef and then finish off their feeding with grain. And that's to add fat into it. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You have that cow that's been allowed to eat in the field, and whatever they decide to let it eat, whether it's alfalfa or whatever it is, and that affects the flavor of the meat. And then they finish it off with grain to add fat back into that mixture. So that gets my vote. So then under consider this, thickness is really, really important. There's a reason that when you go to a steakhouse, you get a steak that's 1.5 to 2 inches thick, and that's because it grills better. You can have the outside seared and, have that nice crustiness to the outside of it, and the inside can still be as rare as you want it to be. So that's the reason steaks are thick. It's much harder to get that kind of an outcome, especially on a grill from a thinner steak. So consider that when you're buying your steaks. Sometimes it's just good to put some money into it. I mean, for me, we don't grill steaks very often, but when we do, we buy the best that we can get. And then I wanted to talk about dry age, which is absolutely a game changer. And if you can put the money into it, it's going to be probably 25% more than a steak that is not dry aged. But what dry aging is it's basically put on a rack in a controlled environment, a chilled, controlled environment for about a month. And during that month, it forms a bit of a crust on it, and it develops a kind of funkiness to it because it's sitting in this environment, which means it's to some degree decomposing, and that's where it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It develops umami, one of those terms that is really hard to define, but that's what I call funkiness. It's, umami is like a term like heaven. I know it's there, I know what it is, but I can't actually define it. But anyway, it develops that kind of a thing, and it also loses 20%, or roughly around 20% of its water. So it intensifies the flavor in that process. It is worth the money. So dry aged beef, definitely. Then the last thing is that never take your steaks, those beautiful steaks that you just put that money into, don't take them right out of the refrigerator and throw them on the grill. They need to warm up. Because if you think about it, if your steak is really cold, what it's going to do is it's going to stay cold, because you're not going to have it on the grill for long enough to warm it up. It's going to stay cold on the inside, so it's not going to cook properly. It'll be charred on the outside, and to get it up to temp, it'll still be raw. It'll be too charred on the outside, and it'll still be raw on the inside. So warm it up. I would say for at least an hour. And that brings me to my next point. You need to season in layers. So while that steak is warming up, you want to sprinkle it with kosher salt on both sides. Put it on a rack so it's exposed to the air. That's going to draw some of the moisture out of it. What that is going to do is that's going to give you a nice crust to your steak. And it's going to give you that first layer of seasoning. And you always want to season in layers. You don't want to just dump salt on things. You want to add a little here and then add a little there. And then you can finish it off with more like a Malden sea salt or another type of sea salt to add a little crunch into the mix right before you serve it. Pepper. Crack your pepper. I can't stress this enough. I'm not even talking grinding. I'm talking getting out your mortar and pestle. Take your peppercorns in right before you put those peppercorns on your steak. Crack them and then put them on the steak. It'll add crunch. The flavor will be much more intense, and it's just the right thing to do. Okay, as far as your fire, if you're doing charcoal, there's a rule called the 2x2 rule. Have you heard of this, Mark? So it's basically, if you can, and what you want to do is build your fire and then you start to let it die down. And then if you can hold your hand 2 inches above the fire or the charcoal for 2 seconds, not 2 minutes, 2 seconds, then you know your fire is ready. If you can't hold it for 2 seconds, it's too hot. If it's 4 seconds, it's already gone. Then you need to add more charcoal and bring the fire up for it to be proper. So and you want a hot side and you want a not so hot side. Again, for me, that would be those divided briquettes, and then I would have not so hot in the center and then my searing hot coals on the side. Then you want to sear on the hot side over those coals for 3 to 4 minutes on each side, and then move it to the center. And I'm talking about these thick steaks, by the way. Your time's going to change if you're doing a thinner steak. But put it in the center, cover it 3 to 8 minutes, and you are golden. If you're going to temp your steak, and after a period of time, if you do a whole lot of this type of grilling, you'll be able to tell. You can smell when a steak is at the temperature that you want it to do. It actually smells differently. It will feel differently if you poke it with your finger. But to temp it, just go in from the side for a thick steak and temp it into the center, and then you'll know what temperature you want it at. For me, I usually stop at 130, knowing that when I pull it off of the grill and let it rest, it's going to come up another 5 degrees and end up at 135, which for me is perfect. Okay.
Like the temp guys?
Yes, so now we're ready for that temping guide. Here we go. Okay, so I did this because there's a lot of information put out by the USDA, which I moved over. Put out by the USDA, which is very valid information. It's primarily based on restaurants and feeding a lot of people. And certainly based on the fact that there are certain populations that should not eat food that is cooked to lower temperatures, and that's people, sometimes elderly people, children, that type of thing. So they put those out there. It also is the temperatures kill bacteria and pathogens, and for a vendor, if you cook the pathogens out, the vendor is safe as well from any potential problems that could happen. But the reality of it is that most chefs cook to lower temperatures because the food tastes better and you don't want to overcook things. So it's important to buy from people that you trust and take care with the processing of their food, and then you don't have to worry about this stuff. So I did put the chef's commonly used temperatures and their ranges in there because things vary and people like different things, but ranges of what chefs typically do, and these are also ranges that I typically do. On the right, there's a sous vide column. If I'm doing sous vide, and you'll see that coming up here, like for pork chops or chicken or whatever I'm doing it for, I always go 10 to 15 degrees lower than the ultimate temperature I want, because when I put it on the grill, I'm going to raise the temperature as I finish off the cooking. Now, the one thing I wanted to point out, ground meats are kind of in a category of their own, because the USDA recommends, and most vendors put this on their packaging if they're selling raw anything, 165 or above, that will kill any pathogen. So that's the reason that is there. My recommendation again is buy from a single source. If you're doing ground beef and you have access to a butcher, have him grind sirloin for you for your ground beef. It's important to know where it's from. So if you want a rare burger, you know that you're not getting beef from all over the United States. You're getting it from a single source, and it's a vetted source, and you know that you can cook it to a lower temperature and you'll be fine. Okay? So anything else to add to that, Mark?
I don't think so.
Okay. So that is my chart. Okay, I need a second here to figure out where I am. Oh, I know. So one thing I did include in the packet, but we did not do a video on, just because we had so much video. So I did give you a chicken marinade that I love. It's kind of a thick marinade, so you have to kind of wipe it off, and it says that in the recipe, after you marinate your chicken. And then, and it has cider vinegar and Worcestershire sauce and brown sugar and mustard and sambal, which is a hot sauce that I love. It has smokiness to it. So you marinate your chicken in that, and then I gave you a bacon chipotle barbecue sauce that literally has bacon that's cooked, of course, and then ground up in the sauce. So what could be better than that? And it has other things like pineapple juice and apricots and chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, which gives it a tremendous smoky flavor. So anyway, those two are in the packet. I just wanted to point those out. Okay, where am I now then? Got through those. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about lamb. And we did an interview with Christina, and Christina is from Grilling Meats, and she is one of the vendors at the market, and she provided me with some gorgeous lamb, and here's the interview. Okay, so that lamb was fantastic. So can you tell me a little bit about it?
The sheep are Katahdin, which is a hair sheep. They were developed in Maine, and the particular breed was developed for the meat flavor. So they took several different breeds and combined them to create the Katahdin breed. So that's the basics of the breed. They're pastured. We don't feed any grain to them unless we have to. You know, if they get into a period where it's stressful or something, we may feed them a little bit. But these sheep have had nothing but good hay all winter, and then they get grass all summer.
And how many of them do you have?
I run about 15 ewes. So not very many.
So what else is on your farm?
We raise grass-fed beef, we raise pigs, the mangalitsa, then we have the sheep, ducks, turkeys, Thanksgiving turkeys, and chicken and guinea fowl.
Really?
Yes.
And how often are you here at the market?
I'm here every Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, you certainly are. Thank you. Christina always is smiling. I just love that about her, and that lamb was just fantastic. So let me tell you a little bit about the recipe. We used, they were actually shoulder steaks, and cut them into roughly 2-inch cubes. It's always hard with meat to get an actual cube, but we did our best. And then I marinated them with mint and cilantro and basil, sort of the trifecta of Thai fresh herbs, a little bit of sugar, and some minced jalapeno pepper. And then I added lime juice and fish sauce. And as you're looking at these grilling, isn't that, they're just beautiful. Now my thing with kebabs is I never put a kebab on a skewer on the grill. And the reason for that is they just don't cook properly. They look nice, but they're also really hard to get off the skewer. I mean, so then they're stuck, because they're seared onto it. So what I like to do is this. I use a grill pan and grill them to, this was probably 8 minutes. And then I let them rest a little bit. And then I put them on this kebab skewer. And they're really easy to get off. They don't end up like flying across the table when you're serving them. So that is this recipe in the packet. I think that's everything on that. Okay, so let's move on to pork chops. And we have a really lovely interview with Chris from UTech Homegrown Pork, and he gave me some pork chops that were just unbelievable. So listen to this.
So I grilled your chops,
Yep.
and they were fantastic. And so what I did was I cooked them sous vide,
Yep.
about 15 degrees lower than 125 degrees.
Yep.
And then I just sprinkled them with a little salt and fennel pollen and finished them off on the grill. So tell me about those chops, because they were so amazing.
So it's a heritage breed pig. It's not a commodity pig. So it's going to be a little bit different than what you'd get in the grocery store. The whole industry, it's not the same breed of pig. Generally, that's all we do is we grill them to like 135, 140-ish. Nothing but salt on. If you want to know the quality of pork that we sell, throw nothing but salt on it. If you want to put seasonings and rubs and stuff on them, run down to Walmart and grab one of them, because you don't want to cover up the true flavor of the product.
Okay, so I'm in trouble. I did put a little fennel pollen on it.
That's
it was
okay.
delicious,
Generally,
just a little.
Generally, the first time somebody buys from me, I tell them to put nothing but sea salt. You're going to know the quality of the product that we're selling.
Well, I certainly did know the quality of the product. Absolutely beautiful. So thank you, and thanks for the interview.
Thank you.
So here's a funny thing that I've noticed, and I think, Mark, you've noticed this too, that when we talk to these producers of whether it's vegetables or it's meats or chicken or whatever it is, almost always when we ask them, or I ask them how they like to cook things, it's absolutely the simplest way. And what I find so, well, I love it because they really like their products. They really know their products and they really want you to taste them. So, and I didn't use that much fennel pollen, I promise, but I do love fennel pollen. But anyway, I mean, that is just a testimony to me of how involved they are and how much they love what they do. And they really believe in what they're doing and their products. So that is so cool. So let me just talk briefly about what I did do with those pork chops. And they were gorgeous and different. I mean, they were marbled differently with fat. And so I put them in sous vide. I think I said that in the video. And I was going for a little under what he was talking about, probably 125, 130. So I put them, I did up to 110. So these guys are vacuum packed. I repackaged them. You could do this even if they're frozen and then just thaw them right in the sous vide bath. These were in for a little over an hour to bring them up to temp. If they were frozen, I'd just do a little longer. Never want to go over 4 hours, by the way. That starts to denigrate the meat. And then we seared them, and you can see they still look pretty uncooked, but they're almost where I want them. Did put a little of that salt, and I think that's when my fennel pollen went on. And over direct heat. I usually like do the seasoning on one side and then finish and put that side down on the grill and then finish it that way. And here they are done. We had a lot of smoke there. So delicious. Look at that. Yum. I wish I had more of those. I'll have to go and get more of those this weekend at the farmer's market for sure. Well, as long as we're talking about pork, we have more pork, and this is from Tollefson's family pork. I talked to Ricky. This family has been at the farmer's market, as many of them have, for years and years and years and years, generations of family, and I love talking to them about it. So listen to this.
What we do and have been doing for a long time is my dad has a very special diet to our pork. The diet is designed to change the fat to make it a little healthier. Change it from a saturated to a polyunsaturated, which is very unique with pigs themselves. It's a very expensive diet, so we only sell it directly ourselves. So we get a lot of people asking why we're not in stores. You're not likely to expect that. But what you'll find is the flavor is fantastic as well due to that same diet. Now, we've been at the farmer's market for, as I said, for about 40 years. We don't know for sure. And it's been really cool getting to make the relationships with customers that we've been able to do.
So this is your whole family, right?
This is, we spread out in between the different farmers markets because we found as family members, we work more peacefully with distance in between. It's taken us a while to get there. What's really cool though is a lot of the people that work for us are customers who have been coming to us for a long time. Like Gary right there, he's been a customer for almost a decade. Rachel, her family's been buying from us since as long as we've been here, so the 30-some years.
So that sounds like love too.
Exactly. It's just the customers love us, we love the customers, and it's just such a beautiful thing down there.
So I'm going to be making some of your ribs.
Okay, the ribs, what we are doing different than most people is we cut the spare or the whole rack into strips. So it's actually more convenient for eating, but it's really convenient to take straight out of the freezer, throw in the crock pot on low for just 5 hours. Easy as can be, and they're delicious every time.
Let me tell you what I'm doing with them.
Okay.
Because it's a grilling event.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to brine them for a while,
Okay.
probably 3 or 4 hours in apple cider vinegar, and then we're going to finish them off. We'll start them in the oven. I'm thinking 4 hours, low heat.
That's what I was wondering, what temperature?
Yeah.
200?
Probably 225.
Yep.
Okay, 225, and they'll be wrapped in foil.
Okay.
A little pepper, that's
Yep.
all. So, and then I'm going to finish them off on the grill
Okay.
with a chipotle barbecue sauce, homemade.
That sounds
Little heat.
fantastic. To be honest with you, I'm a lazy cook when I get home. So that's why the way I put it for you is what I tell customers because it's so easy, and a lot of times people want the easiest route. What you're doing is going to make a much better rib, what I do is simple and hard to screw up.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got two packages, so I'll try your way too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
You know, I was listening to this interview today, and I thought, through what you feed a pig, you can change saturated fat into polyunsaturated fat. I mean, that's science and skill. I mean, it's like winemaking. They're manipulating all of these different things in such a thoughtful way to create the outcome that they want. I'm so impressed with that. So amazing. And these ribs, oh my God. Okay, so I've always been a baby back girl. So when they said spare ribs, I was like, no, okay, but they were delicious. And so what I did with them, and I haven't tried his recipe yet, but I am so going to. I have the ribs in the freezer for it. But I brined them, and I wrote you an apple cider brine. So this is an example of me putting acid into the brine. But I like using vinegars because, especially apple cider vinegar and pork, because apples and pork, well, you know what I'm saying. So this I use for 2.5, 3 hours. You could go as long as overnight, depending on the rib that you're doing. And then I wrote, so that we did, and then what I did with those after I brined them is I wrapped them in foil, double wrapped them in foil, and I put them in a 225 degree oven for 4 hours. And when I took them out of that oven, they were falling apart. And so then I let them cool off for a little bit, and then I finished them on the grill. And finally I put my chipotle barbecue sauce on top of them. And the chipotle barbecue sauce recipe is a unique one. Obviously I do like my chipotle peppers and adobo sauce, but it's unique in that you don't cook it. So the smoky flavor of the chipotle peppers and adobo sauce mixes with all of these ingredients, and there are actually quite a lot of them. So it's sweet, but it's spicy, and that's what I finished those ribs off with. And then we had plenty to serve on the side, which people really love, and I usually heat that up when I serve it. Okay, so did you show the video of that while I was doing it? Okay, I missed that. I missed that completely. Okay, it was short video. All right. So next we are talking, oh yes, trout. So the farmer's market has this vendor that it has been there for, I think, quite a long time, and he is called the Trout Monger. I don't know if that's his personal name or if that's his company name or both, but his real name is Jesse. And I got some beautiful, beautiful fresh trout from him. But watch this video. He has much more than that.
Tell me a little bit about these trout.
So I have a small farm, 60 acres in Columbus, Minnesota, and I grow trout. My electricity is supplied by solar power, so we have a small carbon footprint. I clean the fresh trout the night before the market. The smoked trout I make usually on Thursday and Friday before the market. I come down every Saturday and Sunday from May 1st until Thanksgiving and sell fresh and smoked trout. This year we have a new product, which is a smoked trout spread made with the smoked trout, horseradish, sour cream, and cream cheese. And that's been very well received so far this year.
I've tasted it. It's delicious.
Thank you. Yes. So we had a lot of spare time this winter in the kitchen, and we made up our new recipe, and that's going well. So we're looking forward to a busy and successful market season.
Wonderful. So tell me, what is your favorite way to prepare fresh trout?
I prefer to have them pan-fried or deep-fried. So you take a little bit of oil, salt and pepper, roll them in flour, just fry them till they're crispy. Of course, you're better to, health-wise, probably to put it on the grill with a little bit of olive oil, diced onion, a little bit of butter, and that's also good. I just prefer good fried fish.
I'm planning on putting them on the grill with a little olive oil, and then inside I'm going to put some aromatics, probably some fresh ginger, kaffir lime leaves. What do you think of that?
Yep, that would be good too. I mean, the fish tastes good. You can boil it, and it just tastes good. Anything else you add on top of that is just a plus.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep it simple.
All right. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for stopping by.
So the whole time we were shooting this, I'm sitting there, I'm like listening to him talk, and I'm eyeing the samples of that salmon. That's both the spread, and then he had smoked salmon, and I'm thinking to myself, would it be okay if I'm eating samples while he's talking? Do I think I can pull that off? Well, I didn't do it, but I certainly did think about it. Anyway, we have a brief video, I believe, of what we did with that whole trout. And there it is. Oh, God. So I wound up using lemon, and I didn't have kaffir lime leaves. So I put some basil and cilantro on the inside. It's all ready to go. You just stuff it, put it right on the grill. Absolutely beautiful. There's a little technique in getting the bones out. We can talk about that later, but it was just beautiful. Another thing I wanted to share about fish, though, just because Mark and I were talking about this today, is using cedar planks to grill fish. So we have some salmon here. And this is not a recipe per se, but a technique. So you can buy the cedar plank cedar salmon plates all over the place. Cedar planks all over the place. They need to be food grade, by the way. So don't go to Home Depot and just buy some lumber. You need to buy food grade cedar planks. But you soak them for about a half an hour, and then you put your fish on them. And what's great about it is that wood imparts a wonderful flavor, and also the skin comes off, so it's really easy to just take the salmon off with a spatula and serve it. So really beautiful. Just wanted to share that just because that's kind of one of our favorite techniques for fish. And that would work, by the way, too, with a whole trout, as we showed there. Okay. And by the way, they have smoked trout. That is, did I say that? I love their stuff. The trout monger. Okay, I'm just figuring out where I am here. Oh, we're on to vegetables already, aren't we? Woohoo. All right, let's talk about my vegetable grilling guide. Now, Cooking Club members, I wrote this last year, and I kind of reworked it a little bit and put it in a fun form. At the top, you have, after the title, you have the after marinade, which you just basically mix together. I don't blend this. I like the chunkiness, so I chop up the herbs and the garlic, and I like it to have that kind of coarse quality to it. And then I prep the vegetables. Now, the goal of this is it's really hard to get vegetables to cook properly. They all cook very differently. So if you, even the morning of, when you're entertaining or whatever you're doing, if you prep these vegetables in this way, then you can pull them out and grill them and have a beautiful grilled vegetable platter. So you can run that video while I'm talking. So potatoes and yams and sweet potatoes I microwave for 5 to 6 minutes. Yes, I microwave them. Whole carrots, and that would apply to parsnips too. 4 minutes. And, depending on the size of the vegetable, this is going to vary a little bit, but this will get you in the ballpark. Cauliflower and broccoli florets, 2 minutes. They'll still be kind of hard. Beets are just like potatoes if you want to peel them, 5 to 6 minutes. Corn on the cob in the husk, 2 minutes. Just to get it going. Eggplant, I salt. I don't put it in a microwave. Salt for 45 minutes, and that's to draw the moisture out. Look at that platter. Oh my gosh. So anyway, what I'm doing is grilling in a single layer, and all of this is 3 to 4 minutes per vegetable, and then I'm salting a little more with my perfect salt, my seasoning, what's the word I'm looking for? Sea salt. And then on goes my marinade. And then I serve the marinade on the side, and people love this marinade. It is so simple, but I promise you this is a show-stopping way to do vegetables. And this should be something that you laminate and keep around for when you're grilling. All right, where are we at now? I think we're finally to the part 5 things you probably don't grill but should. Oh, the asparagus. Sorry. Okay, asparagus. I turned the page too quickly. Okay, so we have, let's show this first. Russ from, I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's because I totally threw it away. Hold on a second. You knew this had to happen to me at some point, right? There he is. Russ from Produce Acres. Okay. I have bought asparagus and blueberries and other things from this vendor for years. And I was so thrilled that he was there. I actually didn't think he was there, and then I realized he was in the stall right next to where I was standing. So we went ahead and did an interview, and here he is, Russ from Produce
The
Acres.
asparagus that we have has already been snapped off on the bottom, so you don't have to snap it again. And if you're going to steam it for about a minute to a minute and a half. You're going to grill it. There, I don't know how long, simply because I don't know how wild your fire gets. Put a little butter, olive oil on it, throw it right on the grates, turn a little bit. When you think it's almost done, take a little piece and try it. At our house, not very many tips make it in. But other than that, throw it on the grill, enjoy it.
I think I'm going to undercook it, not overcook it. I've had your asparagus for years now, and I can eat it raw. It's
Yes.
so good. So we'll just keep it really simple.
Keep it simple. Keep your eye on it so that it does not get overdone. If you get it overdone, you just lose the flavor.
Right, there's no going back, is there? Tell me a little bit about your farm.
Well, we've started our farm planting asparagus in 1983. We've been harvesting ever since. We also have strawberries, raspberries, sweet corn, cucumbers, pickles, a variety of things. And in 2011, 10 years ago, we went organic. We've been pesticide free since 1993. And the flavors are just getting better every year.
Wasn't that amazing? That was me, by the way, grilling the asparagus. And if you notice, what I was doing is I was kind of going between direct and indirect heat, depending on the size of the spear. Some of them were a little thicker, some a little thinner. And I'm often asked, what do I like, thin or thick asparagus? I love them all, as long as they're cooked properly. So that's what I was doing, was just trying to get the thicker ones done a little bit more. But I always err on the underside of cooking because I don't like overcooked asparagus at all. How about you, Mark? Are you a thin asparagus person or a thicker asparagus person, or where do you land on that subject?
I'm medium.
He's medium. Okay. All right. So now I can talk about the 5 things you probably don't grill but should. Okay. So I started this list with specialty brats because Bar 5 from the Minneapolis Farmers Market makes these incredible brats, and I happened to be talking to the owner one day, and he brought them out and said, "Why don't you try these?" And I tried 3 of them. I think he does 3 kinds. He may do more that I don't know about, but I took 3 home, and I was just like, I am on it. I love it because brats are like, you have to put your brat in your bun with your ketchup and your all that stuff. These are different than that. These are, they have so much flavor, and it's so unique. So here is me talking to John, the owner from Bar 5, about his very special
So
product.
I just wanted to tell you that I made those beautiful brats of yours, and my favorite was the blueberry.
The blueberry wild rice was kind of a fun thing that my son and I developed. We were just in the shop one day and decided, for some odd reason, to put the 2 flavors together, the sweet with the crunchy, and it turned out real well, and we were really pleased with it.
My grandson's favorite was the chicken with the apple. Can you tell me about that one?
Oh, did you get the Applejack ones? Yes. Well, we take Granny Smith apples and rehydrate them with concentrated apple juice, and then we mix in a pepper jack cheese to have the sweet and the spicy, and it turns out to be really a good mixture, and you get just a little bit of each to make it a nice, well-balanced, rounded flavor, and people like it real well.
Well, we did the cherry as well. Actually, we did all 3. We loved them, and I served them with grilled romaine.
Oh, that sounds like really good. I've never had the chance to really grill lettuce, but with a cherry bomb, I got the idea from another butcher, but he didn't rehydrate the cherries. So I actually rehydrate the cherries in cherry juice, and then I grind them. into the sausage, and then we add the jalapeno flakes and the pepper jack cheese. And there again, with the sweet and the kind of the hot, they well balance out each other, so you get a nice little spice to it, but not a lot, and it just gives it that nice little kick, and people really enjoy that one in with a pork brat as well.
You know, that's interesting, that process of rehydrating, because they're very moist, and I wasn't expecting that. So delicious.
Yes, the previous guy that I got the recipe from, he didn't rehydrate them. He just actually put them into his brat, and then he actually smoked the brat. And when I tried them, I had took a bite, and it was a whole cherry, and it was like about the size of a nickel, and it was kind of a leathery nickel, and I was chewing and chewing and chewing. I thought, no, people don't want to have something like this. You want to have something that's moist and has good mouth appeal to it.
Yeah, and when you bite into like even the blueberries, you know you're biting into a blueberry, but it fits with the texture of the whole brat. So great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you for enjoying them, and I hope to see you again.
Take care.
I should mention that I am a very, very big fan of Bar 5's chicken and their eggs. They have all kinds of products, so you should definitely check them out. Again, another family that has been at the market, generations of their family that have been at the market and love their stuff. So what we did with those specialty brats, I just wanted to share this with you, was again, I went to Sous-Vide with this. My logic on this is that because of the flavors in this, I certainly didn't want to boil them off in beer. And I actually never do that anyway. I really don't, I just don't want my brats to taste like beer. But what we did was we packaged them in sous vide, vacuum packaged them, and then brought them up to temp. And I think I did 150, aiming for 160, 165 once we actually got them on the grill. And there they are, and you can see that they are very different from each other. I mean, you can see the blueberries, you can see the cherries, and the chicken apple ones are lighter. Again, my grandson just dug those chicken apple ones. And we did not serve these with buns or ketchup or anything else. We basically just served them and sliced them. And I did a grilled romaine salad with them, which I was really, really pleased with. Yeah, so it's just kind of, it was light and delicious instead of that kind of heavy brat kind of thing. So that brings me right now onto the second thing that you probably don't grill but should, and that is lettuce. So that's my romaine. And you can grill any green if you have a grill basket. Why not get that smoky flavor? But romaine is particularly wonderful for this because you can slice it in half lengthwise and it stays together. Here I'm putting some olive oil on it, and there is actually a recipe for this, Italian grilled romaine, and that's in your packet if you got one. It's like a Caesar salad kind of thing almost, without the heavy dressing. So there I put them face side down. I'm putting more olive oil on the other side. So face side down about 3 minutes. I think I did close the lid on this. And now I'm turning them over, and you can see they're kind of charred, and I'm getting a little fire there. And don't let the fire make you nervous. Just move the food. It works out fine. Now it's been about 5 minutes total. And I'm going to take them off the plate. I did put some salt and pepper on them already before I put them on the grill. I'm going to do a little bit more. This can be a finishing salt, like a Malden or a sea salt, other type of sea salt, something crunchy, always nice. And of course, freshly ground black pepper. You know how I feel about that. And then lemon juice. And this is fresh lemon juice. And I obviously like lemon juice a lot. So, this is my dressing. It's like you're making the dressing by putting it on. I put my olive oil on, I put my salt and pepper, there's my lemon juice, and now I'm finishing it off with some Parmesan cheese, which is really delish. It's light, but it's so flavorful. And a perfect pairing for those brats. Okay, now we're moving on to our third thing you probably don't grill but should, and it is pizza. Right? Yes. So I wrote you, for those of you that signed up, but I just want to talk about pizza, a grilled focaccia pizza recipe. You do this directly on the grates, and you can see it right here. So this dough is amazing, but it is focaccia-like, so it's going to really, really puff up. It's got some heft to it. So I did the first part of this over direct and then flipped them over, and you can see it's not particularly even. I'm okay with that because, look, when I flip it over this way, perfecto. Looks really good. You take them off of the grill to dress them, put all your pizza toppings on top. And this is plain tomato sauce because I'm adding a whole bunch of other stuff. Here we've got some aged mozzarella, sort of your typical shredded pizza cheese, fresh mozzarella. So this has a lot of the ingredients that you would see in a typical Italian margherita pizza. It's a little bit different. That is, and this is actually in the recipe, some caramelized onion, and then of course pesto. Can't live without the pesto. And you can see I really like pesto because I'm putting a lot on there. And I actually, when we ate these, put more pesto on the side. So I'm a pesto girl. And then now we go indirect. So they go indirect right on the grate. 2 to 3 minutes, however long it takes to get those cheeses melted. Your pizza's nice and hot. Your toppings are hot. Should be bubbly, nice and lovely. And they're ready to go. Beautiful. Yum. Okay, we're off of the pizza now, and we can move on to my fourth thing that you probably don't grill but should. And maybe you actually do grill these because it's mushrooms, but I wanted to highlight the fact that there are so many types of mushrooms out there, and the Minneapolis Farmers Market has a new vendor. I think he's new this year or new last year. Pretty new to me anyway. He has so much to offer, and all of it can go on the grill. And we picked a couple that we'll show you later, but we did an interview with him that is actually partially at the farmer's market, and part of it is in his urban, or I should say suburban farm, place where he produces the mushrooms. So Mark, can you show that? This is Peter from Tiny Tinks, and that's our mushroom vendor.
We have the cold or the warm weather seasonal mushrooms that we cycle through that are grown in the greenhouse. We've got the downstairs grow, which has all the cold weather varieties like the maitake, the Nameko, Piopino, some of the more exotic ones. The cold weather oysters, the lion's mane. And then we have the microgreens, and then we have the pink oysters. Let's see, these guys are actually ready to go in that outdoor greenhouse. These ones are shiitake. We've got some golden oysters right here. White or pearl mushrooms. These ones are really meaty. Another warm weather variety. We've got king trumpets up here. Yay. I really love the king trumpets.
I do too.
And we've got one called hirotake right here. It has the appearance of a king oyster, but it has the soft texture of an oyster, but it has the umami savoriness of a shiitake. So it's got a really good mix of 3 different things. Chestnuts, these are part of the Foliota family. I believe we have some Namekos, unless we've fruited them all.
What does that mean, fruited them?
So fruiting. So when it produces a mushroom, so the mushroom is the last stage of life. So it'll grow and grow and grow until the mycelium has reached its food source, all of its food source, and then when it runs out of food, it'll continue to digest and break down the wood, the lignin in the wood, until it runs out of food, and it says, I don't have any food. If I have to produce a mushroom, because I'm going to die, basically. So
this is like the mushroom speaking.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So so then the mushrooms will go up and release the spores, and the cycle repeats. So the idea with mushrooms is that we're trying to figure out a way to grow mushrooms and use that as a part of an entire farming system. So we have the mushrooms that produce the stuff that we use to enrich the soil, the garden, which is no-till, so that's constantly being amended. The mushrooms are also pretty complicated to grow, but they're fun and well worth it. So.
Well, they're absolutely beautiful. And then eventually these will just be turned into really good compost.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to compost them. You can just break them up and put them over the top layer of the soil. So it's you don't have to turn them, which is really nice.
All those years of turning soil, and I had no idea. It's fantastic. So where do you get these blocks?
So we make these.
You make them?
Yep. So when we saw Danielle downstairs in the lab, she was inoculating these.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing that we don't do is we don't make our own. We make some spawn, but we don't make a lot of it because it's really complicated stuff to do really well.
Spawn.
Yeah. So spawn is so the way the mushrooms are grown is you start with culture, like an ice. Like you can take a mushroom and take a piece of the tissue and put it in a dish and have it clone it, and then you take that and you grow it on sterilized grain, and the grain acts as a medium so that you have different particles that mix in throughout the sawdust.
Okay. So Peter, tell me about what you have here.
Yes, we have a variety of microgreens and mushrooms, mostly mushrooms. We have, let's see, I believe these ones, we have maitake, we have alba, both in beach, or white and brown beach. We have lion's mane, piopinos, we have some fresh picked blue oysters that are from our seasonal greenhouse. We've got, more piopinos, we've got king trumpets, fiddleheads, some microgreens down up there on the end. And we also have morels. Yeah.
So what's forage and what do you grow?
So the foraged items that we have throughout the season are typically morels, chanterelles, chicken in the woods, black trumpets, boletes if we can get them. They're pretty hard to find. So what's everything? All the mushrooms that are all the other mushrooms are grown. So the beach, lion's mane, piopinos. The fiddleheads are also foraged. So what we have are microgreens, gourmet mushrooms that we grow, foraged items include mostly mushrooms, and some tinctures as well.
So how the fiddleheads? How long do they last? What's their season?
I'd say the fiddleheads are over now. So all the ones that we have are ones that have been in cold storage. As soon as that little fiddlehead comes up, if you wait much longer, it just starts unfurling and it's gone. So.
And how about the morels? How often do you get them?
It's been a really rough season this year. It's been super dry, and then it's been too cold, and now that it's starting to warm up, we got a little bit of rain, but it's looking like it'll get warmer faster so it'll be a super short season. But thankfully, they're just starting to pop like right now, but we're not sure for how much longer.
Seize the day, right? Okay.
So my goal is to buy a different kind of mushroom every week and try them, because there are a number of those that I haven't seen before, and they all have different characteristics. And then when I get through all of them, I'm just going to start over again. He also, talking about foraging, the foraging part of his business, he had fiddlehead ferns, which was just beautiful a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if they'll be there this weekend, but everything you saw in the video, maybe even the morels, will be there this weekend. So really, really, really fun guy and really fun business. So from mushrooms, we're working on now the fifth thing you probably don't grill but should. And this is dessert, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to grill cake and fruit. Yes, we are. And I gave you my pride and joy of a cake recipe, my pound cake recipe.
Still doing mushrooms.
Oh, we're still, I'm sorry. Yikes, okay. Here are my mushrooms. These are the ones that we grilled that, these are, what did we call them?
King oysters.
King oysters, right. They're a lot like a scallop. So they have a really meaty texture and they look like a scallop, and we started them direct and then moved them to indirect, and they were just absolutely delicious. And I was thinking to myself, because they are like a scallop, I have several scallop recipes that I would like to try them with, whether I grill them or I don't grill them. I think they're really, really beautiful and delicious. Okay, so sorry about that. I knew something was going to happen, right? Okay. So we got our mushrooms grilled. Not going to talk about cake? Okay, now I'm talking about cake. So you can grill cake and you can grill fruit, and we did them together. I gave you a pound cake recipe. Again, my pride and joy. It's very dense and very sweet. And so we threw some rhubarb, which is now at the market everywhere. It's in my yard all over the place. And we did rhubarb and we did some strawberries. So strawberries aren't in yet locally, but will be soon. And then I finished them off with a butter and lemon sauce. So I let the fruit sit in that for a little while, and the juices from the fruit, while it's hot, come out of it and mix together with it, and then that forms the sauce. So really a lovely recipe. And you know, on a perfect day, you just whip some cream and put that on top of it, and you have a gorgeous dessert. And grilled cake is delicious. I mean, it has a smokiness to it. It's really unique, but as we said in the beginning, you can put anything on the grill and it just makes it better, right? Okay, so I think we've actually gotten through our agenda. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, everybody, I think that's everything. Thanks for hanging in with us. This was so fun for us. We absolutely thank the Minneapolis Farmers Market and Cooking Club members and everyone that watched. And just one last little plug going forward on Thursdays, not next week, but going forward after that, I will be live on the Minneapolis Farmers Market page right here doing live cooking videos. We will release the recipes ahead of time so you can cook along with me. And I'm really looking forward to that too. Okay, everybody, take care. Keep cooking and go to the market this weekend. See you later. Mwah.